and see what happens between Bethune-Cookman, NCAT, and South Carolina State. How difficult is it to be in that kind of situation?
It's not difficult. We had to take care of business. We did not take care of business, last week. A&T did a great job, won the football game. So now we just have to regroup, and we just got to go and play and take one game at a time. We have South Carolina State coming in here, and that's all we have to worry about. And that's what I've been preaching all year long is, it's one game at a time. You just worry about the opponent that is ahead of you, and this week is South Carolina State, so that's all we're really worried about.
With sort of this possible scenarios that could play out in the MEAC, does that heighten the importance of this game against South Carolina State?
No, it doesn't. Again, like I said, it's the next game. All we're worried about is our opponent, and that's South Carolina State, and putting the best game plan and playing our best game of the year.
Let me ask you, is there a delicate balance between getting your players to be excited but also wanting them to play, rationally and sort of reasonably in a game with this kind of hype?
Yeah, there's a fine line, and I think last week we were too excited as a football program. The players were too excited, and they came out flat. So, this week, again, like I said, we're trying to just focus on South Carolina State, what they do, what our game plan is, and we can't worry about scenarios. And we have never worried about scenarios. But obviously, the media, the fans, and everything were in our guys' ears about that. We, as coaching staff, we were not. We were just worried about North Carolina A&T, and just like this week, we're worried about South Carolina State. So that's our focus. And we can't worry about scenarios.
Lee, I was wondering if you could just talk about, obviously Robert Council's performance after a 2-game absence. So what factors do you think played into his effort on Saturday?
He trying too much. Coming back, from injury. Obviously, he wanted to be at the level that he was before he got injured. I thought he pressed too much.
Oh, so you don't think the injury affected him too much? Did he look rusty at all?
The injury had nothing to do with it. He had a groin injury, so he was running full speed, so that had nothing to do with it. He practiced the last 2 weeks. He was limited, so but we were preparing him to be the starter.
And what did you see from Moses in the second half?
I thought Moses did a good job. Running the offense. He missed some reads in the pass game, which he hadn't done before. There was a couple plays that we could have had probably touchdowns on that we left out there from misreads, from Moses. But I thought Moses did a decent job.
So then, let me ask you this: who will you think start on Saturday?
I don't know. We'll go through this week in practice, and we'll decide after this week, probably on Friday or so.
I don't think you do usually play games or anything like this, but do you like the fact that maybe you might be able to keep it a little mysterious for South Carolina State to figure out?
Like I said, I'm just worried about winning the football game. I'm gonna play whoever I think gives us the best opportunity to win the football game. I'm not into playing games and all that and being mysterious or whatever. We're just got to see who does the best job this week, who gives us the best opportunity, and that's who will play.
Lee, I was wondering. I also noticed Matthew Thompson has not played in the past 3 games. Is he okay?
Matt started this last game.
Oh,
he started at left guard.
Oh, left guard. Okay. Why did he switch from right tackle then?
Because Dominic Woods was out with a concussion.
Oh, I see. Okay. Do you think Dominic will be back in time for Saturday?
Yeah, Dominic played the second half.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yeah, he started the second half. So he'll be back.
Okay. He just didn't start.
He didn't practice all week, so he didn't start. So AJ, our right tackle, was dehydrated at halftime. So we started Dominic at left guard and moved Matt back to right tackle.
Okay. Well, let me ask this. I think, as you mentioned, AJ. How did he play? Because he did start the previous 2 games, though, right? At right tackle.
Correct. Yeah. He was our starter the previous 2 games.
Okay.
So
how did
he played well. I mean, for a true freshman, we have Matt Thompson and AJ, both the true freshmen that on offensive line that's been starting for us all year long. And obviously Matt had a little injury, didn't play to 2 previous games, and AJ started those 2 games. So he's coming along great. For a true freshman being out there playing at right tackle, he's done a great job.
But assuming if everyone is healthy, I imagine you go back to Dominic being a left guard and Matthew at right tackle?
Correct.
Okay. All right, Coach, that's pretty much all the questions I have. Thank you.
Sure.
No further questions at this time.
Thanks again for joining us this morning, Coach. Best of luck to you and the team this week.
All right, thank you.
Morgan State will host South Carolina State on Saturday, November 15th. That game kicks off at 1 p.m. at Hughes Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland. Next up, we have Florida A&M head coach Corey Fuller. Good morning, Coach Fuller.
Good morning.
How are you this morning, Coach?
I'm doing the best I can in the situation I'm in, but I'm all right. How are y'all doing?
Doing well, Coach. Thanks for asking. Well, Coach, it was a tough finish last week. Can you talk a little bit about that matchup against South Carolina State?
Yeah, South Carolina State, they have a very good program. They have very good players, a very physical team at the point of attack, especially on defense. Our kids played well. They pushing through. I think this is a great group of guys, young men in that locker room we have. They're going through mentally and physically and trying to fight their way through it. We created a lot of turnovers, but we gave up too many turnovers too. So it was a deciding factor in the game.
Well, Damon Fleming appears to have made some strides after a rather slow start to the season. Can you talk a little bit about the play of the signal caller?
He's been playing good, especially in the passing game. We kind of opened the offense back up. We with a different type style offense with Coach Holmes. And when I took over, I knew the kid had 2 great years when he first got here. So we just tried to get it, cut down the stuff, and get the ball in his hand, get it out of his hand. Because one thing he can't do, he can't throw the football.
Well, Coach, looking ahead this week, it's a matchup against Delaware State. Talk about that pending game.
Well, it's going to be a tough game for Delaware State and tough game for FAMU. The elements going to play a big part in it. It's supposed to be very cold up there. But I have our kids ready to play once again like we have the last 2 weeks. We just haven't came up with what we really ultimately wanted, that's the W. So, I know we'll be ready to play. I know they're going to have their kids ready to play. It's tough. Towards the end of the year, you're not where you want to be at as a team, an organization. You want to be playing for the MEAC championship. You want to be in the thick of things, but we're not. Neither one of us are. So we're going to see who going to gut it out. It's called Gut Bowl now. It's the Gut Bowl time.
Well, thanks, Coach Fuller. That concludes all of my questions this morning, but if I can ask you to stay on the line for any additional questions from the media.
Yes, ma'am.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, it's the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone if you wish to ask a question. Our first question is from the line of Ty Miller with SBN Sports. Please go ahead.
Hey, Coach Fuller, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Coach, I hear a lot of enthusiasm coming from you, and how has that translated to your players so far in terms of how they have played the past week and how they have participated in practice?
Well, practice has been high spirit. One thing about it, if you follow me as a player, one thing I try to tell coaches that no matter how good we were as a player, you got to be a coach in this situation when you're a coach. But I try to take my enthusiasm I had as a player and let it fall down to the players, and it's been good the last 2 weeks. Kids have played with high spirit on both sides of the ball. They fought to the end of the game. But the thing about it, this meal was prepared before Coach Fuller. Even though I was on the staff, I'm just trying to make it taste good the last 4 games that I was actually the interim head coach. And the thing about it is that these kids are playing with the energy that I want them to play with, and they're giving what they got. But when you're undisciplined and you're not structured the way you should be from the time of the season, you don't win football games in September, October, November, December. You win football games in January. So right now we're trying to take the last little bit of energy they have left in them for these last 2 games and let it show.
Also, Coach, for you, I mean, It's been said that Florida A&M is going to start the search for a new head coach. However, could this also be for you a stepping stone to a coaching opportunity, whether it's at FAMU or somewhere else in the future?
Well, to be honest, man, I don't look at it as an opportunity. Every day I wake up, God has given me an opportunity to do something I love to do, and that's work with young men. So if it's somewhere else or here at FAMU, I'm going to do the best wherever I'm at. If I decide to go back to high school, I'll be a great high school coach. Wherever I go in and work, if I work for somebody, I'm going to be a great worker. At the end of the day, I get opportunity when God wakes me up in the morning to do what I love to do, and that's what I love to do, is deal with young men and try to help cultivate their mind and their body and spirit. So when they leave the University of Florida A&M, they'll be better people.
Coach, what's been the difference since you took over as interim head coach from being in your other position on the staff? What's the biggest difference?
The biggest difference, the first week I put a kid off the team. I suspended 2 of them. There has been a form of discipline in the last 2 weeks. Is it going to show up totally in a 60-minute football game? Not overnight, but it's coming. So whatever and whoever they hire, when they get here, they'll know that a foundation has been started. Now, they got to do what they got to do. If it's not me and the guys that's on the staff, whoever it is, they got to keep it going.
And finally, Coach, how is your experience as a former pro player helped in your current position?
Me being a pro player doesn't help me in college football. I'm going to be honest. I came from Florida State. Everything I believe in college to high school football is a philosophy from Bobby Blount and my high school coach. We can't take a pro model and try to put it even at Florida State, Alabama. The NFL is a billion-dollar business. They make a lot of money in college football, but they don't make the money the NFL makes. So it's 2 different type venues. So you can't use that model up there down here. So my model is strictly from a Bobby Blount teaching, a Mick Andrews attitude, my high school, my high school coach, the way he disciplined me and my teammates. So that's where my philosophy of football comes from, and I'm going to stick to that until I leave this face of earth, because I know it works. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I do know that this is a different time. We're dealing with different kids. The climate of these kids is not the climate it was when we were playing football in the 80s. So, you have to adjust to that as a leader, and I do know how to adjust to the climate.
Coach, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
There are no further questions at this time.
Well, thanks again for joining us this morning, Coach. Best of luck to you and the team this week.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, sweetie. Y'all have a blessed day and a blessed week.
Thank you. You too.
All right.
Our next interview is with Bethune-Cookman head coach Brian Jenkins. Good morning, Coach Jenkins.
Good morning, Ms. Porter.
How are you this morning, Coach?
Making the best of it as always.
As always. Well, Coach, another competitive matchup for the Wildcats last week, and you were able to pick up that victory. Can you talk a little bit about that matchup against Norfolk State?
Oh, it was the ones against the twos. You had the first defense and the top defense in the conference, and also the second-ranked defense in the conference that were lining up on the field. And going in, we knew it would be a defensive battle. And, Norfolk lined up and played tough. And then the weather conditions, played to their favor, which made their defense even tougher. And, we just got in and played Wildcat football and found a way to come away with a victory. It was another hard-fought game between Cookman and Norfolk, which it always is. And this time we found a way to grind it out and come away with a victory, which is always good.
Well, Coach, as we're talking about defense, for the past few years, the Wildcats have dominated offensively in the conference, leading in that particular statistical category. But this year, defense has been one of the key strengths to recording victories. Was an emphasis placed on this area of the Wildcat program, or are you just building on the strength of this particular squad?
No, I think our defense has always been solid and ranked high. For every year that we've been here, we've been ranked in the nation in takeaways, and several years we've led the nation in takeaways. So I just think, everybody likes to see points on the board and likes to see long touchdowns and long runs. And because of that, a lot of times, your defensive effort could be overshadowed. If we would have scored 50 points Saturday, and our defense would have played like they did, everyone would have been sitting here and wanting to talk about the offense. And because that's where everybody looks at for the highlights. So I just think in the past, our defense has just been overshadowed by the numbers we've put up offensively, but I think we've always had a top-level defense that has played, the way we're playing now. I mean, if you check the stats, it's been proven that we've had performances similar to this in the past, probably not as dominating, but similar, and we've been very consistent on defense, over the years. So it was not an emphasis that was placed on, defense. We just, defense is playing at an all-time high right now, and because of that, finally, they're getting a chance to outshine the offense.
Fair enough. This week, you face Hampton in the second straight national telecast. Talk about this upcoming matchup.
Well, it's first let me say it's a good thing that we got a chance to play again on Thursday night on ESPN or one of the ESPN channels. I think it's a wonderful job done in negotiating by the conference. So you make sure you tell Dr. Thomas that I said some good things about his actions. So you'll see that I do compliment him time to time. But I think it's a wonderful thing that we get a chance to play on ESPN again, and everybody gets to see us nationally. And we line up against Hampton, who has a rich tradition in football. Their record does not show their effort on the field. And in saying that, we know that we're going to go down there and we're walking into a buzzsaw. Their head coach is a proven winner. He's proven over the years before arriving at Hampton that he can build a powerhouse program, and he knows what it takes. And when you watch film, you see Hampton play every down for 4 quarters, no matter where the game is at. But if you also look at the numbers, which I'm a numbers guy, they've been in every game except this last one and have had a chance to win it. So that lets me know that they're very capable and they're very able to line up and put themselves in a position to win. And because of that, we better make sure that we're ready to play and that we have a good game plan going in and that we're not looking past these guys. So I think it's going to be a tremendous matchup and a good showing on Thursday night.
Well, thanks, Coach Jenkins. That concludes all of my questions this morning, but if I can ask you to stay on the line for any additional questions from the media.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone keypad.
I'll have to watch this keypad.
And there are no questions at this time.
Well, thanks again for joining us this morning, Coach Jenkins. Best of luck to you and the team this week.
Thank you, Ms. Porter.
Bethune-Cookman will travel to Hampton, Virginia to take on Hampton University. That game kicks off Thursday, November 13th at 7:30 p.m. and will be played at Armstrong Stadium. The game will also telecast live on ESPNU. That concludes our next interview is with Delaware State head coach Kermit Blount. Good morning, Coach Blount. Good morning, Coach Blount.
Hey, good morning, Patricia. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Well, Coach, sounding a little rested over there. The Hornets were open last week. Can you talk a little bit about how you used that bye week?
Wow, we really needed that week to try to heal some of our players, but they ended up giving them a few days away from football just to kind of, gather with their families over the weekend and kind of buckle down in academics. And we took 3 days out of the week and had some really, really good back-to-basic practices. And so I think the team should respond. They had a chance to walk away from it for a minute. And this has been a long season, first 12-game season that I think we've played here at Delaware State. So it's certainly been a long year for us. It's been one of ups and downs and one of injuries, but I'm hoping that I got some guys healed up this last week.
Well, Coach, after a week being off, how eager are the players as well as yourself to getting back on the competition field?
Well, as coaches, you hate to miss a weekend because you don't know what to do when you're not coaching on that weekend. But certainly I think our players really excited about trying to get back and, and try to finish the season off with a nice little 2-game run. We got 2 tough opponents. Of course, they have FAMU this weekend, and this is going to be a tough test for us against the Rattlers, but that's why we play the game of football, and I think our guys are excited about it. They look forward to the challenge.
Well, as you mentioned, you will be taking on Florida A&M this week. Can you give us your on-the-field thoughts regarding this upcoming matchup?
A very physical football team, one defensively that runs to the football very well. They're very well coached. Offensively, the quarterback is just dynamic. It's a guy that we're going to have to try to contain and keep him from making big plays on us. But this is a good football team. Their record really doesn't indicate how good they are as well. So this is going to be a tough task for us. By no stretch of the imagination is any game in this MEAC conference a game that you can write off. You can't write anybody off in this conference, and this is a very competitive and a very tough conference that we play in. So this is going to be a tough ball game for us this weekend, and it's going to take everything we have to get a win this weekend.
Well, thanks, Coach Blount. That concludes all of my questions this morning. If I can ask you to stay on the line for any additional questions from the media.
Cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone keypad. Once again, it's the 1-4 if you have a question. There are currently no questions at this time.
Well, thanks again for joining us this morning, Coach Blount. Best of luck to you and the team this week.
Thank you, Patricia. You have a great week, okay?
Thank you. Will do. You too.
All right. Thank you.
Our next interview is with Howard University head coach Gary Harrell. Good morning, Coach Harrell.
Good morning, Ms. Patricia Porter. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Coach. How about yourself?
I'm doing good this morning. Thank you.
Well, Coach, nice win last week over the Tigers. Can you talk a little bit about that matchup against Savannah State?
Well, it was definitely, a scrappy game. Savannah State is a very feisty team. They come to play. They play from start to finish. They really give you a hard time in things they do on defense as far as, putting pressure on you up front. And offensively, they made some plays at the quarterback position. Their skill guys are very, very talented. And, it was a close game up to halftime, and I think we just got the breaks. We made some big plays, special teams, offense, defense. Greg McGee played lights out once again, doing an outstanding job with his arm. Passed for over 300 yards and throwing for 4 touchdowns. William Parker rushed for 178. So we did a good job as far as offensively, putting up 600 yards of total offense. And defensively, some things we still want to work on as far as third down situations. But we did better in the red zone. We did have some turnovers. But I think just second half, we kind of got things together. And we just got the breaks as far as the big plays. But Savannah State, they're a tough team. My head goes off to Ernest Wilson. He's doing a great job as far as getting the guys going in the right direction. But it was a must-win for us, good opportunity for us to put 2 wins consecutively. We just want to finish strong. We want to continue to get better. The guys still have high morale. They're still playing as a family, as a team, and that's very, very encouraging to see.
Well, Coach, offensively, the Bison seemed to be clicking on all cylinders against the Tigers last week. Are you concerned about this week's non-conference matchup and if that would alter any momentum this team has seen in the past few weeks?
I don't think it affects as far as the momentum. I think the guys, we're finally reaching the point where we're playing as a team. We're coming together. Guys really carrying out their assignments and truly building confidence. And we have guys that's focused on winning these last 2 games. And we got to win this first game against Central Connecticut State in order to go into the next following week. We have guys like Greg McGee that's on his way to making, history, probably being the best quarterback in the MEAC history, surpassing Ted White, the offensive coordinator here. So we still got a lot of things to play for. So this game also is not a MEAC conference game. Yes, it's kind of unusual to play a type game like this late in the year. But, it's an opponent, and we got to be well prepared. they come out and they oppose some threats. They have a good running back, and they also have some weapons at wide receiver. So we have guys that we have to be concerned with. And on defense, they do a good job as far as just trying to confuse you, blitzing, and we want to make sure that we finish strong, and that's been our motto and our focus for these last couple of weeks. Let's worry about what Howard University and what we do. We can't really focus on the opponent. We can't focus on the opponent record. They're 7-2. They're 2-7. We really got to make sure that we continue to get out of these last two games where we ultimately want to, and that's continue to build a program, continue to play fundamentally sound football, which we believe in these teams. We believe in these guys. We have a young team. We have roughly about 8 seniors. So a lot of these guys will be back next year. So we want to use these last part of the season as an extension to the off season and the next season as well. So these next 2 games are very important. This one is most important because it is the next game, and we plan on going out up in their area and go and play hard and try to get this win.
Well, speaking of this week's opponent, you will be facing Central Connecticut. Can you talk a little bit about the actual matchup?
Well, like I said, they have a running back, Brandon. He's a guy that came from Medford Academy, a big back with some good speed. He's a track guy. He has some big plays. When you look at him on film, that's the guy that they like to utilize, put the ball in his hands. The wide receiver, they have a senior guy, and Tyrell Holmes, who's a big body guy, 6'2", 6'3", long rangey guy that can make plays. But they do a good job as far as using their strength, using their weapons. As you can see, the record doesn't really show, but they're very scrappy. It's almost similar to a team like Savannah State that, they come after you very hard. The guys are still playing hard. We're in a similar situation when you look at the record, but my guys are playing hard as well. So it's just that part of the year that as a head coach, as a coach's staff, you have to get your guys motivated to play tough, to play hard. No matter what the weather is. I'm sure it's going to be harsh weather, but we got to go out and we got to perform no matter what. And that's going to be the key matchup as far as offensively, continue to do what we do and run the football, and also let Gray McGee manage the game. And defensively, continue to get better as far as getting stops. And special teams have been solid. They want to make sure we stay on that track. But it's going to take for us to play well in all 3 phases to come out with the ultimate goal, which is to win. But we want to perform well within the games. We want to compete with each other and see who will be that guy that leads us to that victory.
Well, thanks, Coach Harrell. That concludes all of my questions this morning. But if I can ask you to stay on the line for any additional questions from the media.
No problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. Our first question is from the line of Trevin Jones with Howard University. Please go ahead.
Coach Harrell, good morning, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Good morning to you as well.
Great win, Coach. My first question to you is, if I may ask, how's Justin doing? I know that he was injured in the game towards the end of the game last week, and I just wanted to check on him and see how he's making out.
Yeah, Justin's doing fine. He is a very, very hard collision, and he suffered some injuries, and we had to leave him behind for a couple of days to some evaluation done to make sure that he was fine and make sure he was able to fly back, during that time period as well. But he's back now. He got back last night, and we're checking up on him. So he's definitely a guy that we well respect as a young freshman. He can play very hard. But, I appreciate you asking about him. He's doing fine. I think he's going to recover very well.
Great. Now, Coach, this game last week, William Parker, coming off 2 career performances for him with the running game, took a lot of pressure off of Greg. And I remember you mentioned that last week. How comfortable is the offense getting at this point when you get a running back that's doing something like that, and then you have Greg being able to just relax?
I think it does a lot for Greg McGee. Like I said, the guy had so much pressure on him for roughly 6, maybe 8 weeks consecutively, and to have William Parker come in and do what he do and make some big plays, it takes a lot of pressure off him. But we had a lot of guys that stepped up. Now we have wide receivers that we knew can do the things that they're capable of doing that they was not doing early in the season. They're catching the ball, and they're making plays and getting upfield. So when you look at the stats, Greg McGee probably had more than 6, 7 different receivers that he utilized throughout the game, this past game. And the running game was that O-line with the injuries we have. The guys are playing well as far as creating lanes for William Parker. Even Terrence Toussaint and Aquinas Freeman come in. It's running back by committee. Yes, William Parker is the guy with the bulk of the yards. The other guys come in with a great change of pace, making plays and moving the chains. They do a good job. I think offensively, we still, we perform well throughout the year. I think this past game was one of the best games that we perform offensively. But, I tell you, we still have so much room to grow. We still leave a lot of plays, a lot of yards on the field. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be incredible when we see, when everything really clicks, to see what type of offense we can really be. I really think we can be a high-octane, powerful offense when it comes to putting points on the board, moving the chains, and just taking control of the football game. Greg McGee is special, and we want to make sure we utilize him and get everything we can from him these last 2 games.
Right, and Coach, excuse this question if it sounds ignorant. I'm coming from me and watching the team play. Greg had 9 different receivers that were actually catching the ball and making things happen. I know that's not surprising to you, but that's something we haven't seen all year long. What has been the mentality and what's been the change amongst the receiving corps as time has gone on?
It's just confidence. A lot of these guys, like we've been saying all year, a lot of these guys are young. A lot of these guys are freshmen. When you're talking about Tavis Brown, Otis Grimes, a lot of guys playing for the first time in a significant role. The only guy that has the experience who's been playing as a true freshman is Mack, and that's why he shows a little more tangible things at that position. Rich Ayagor is the first time playing in that role. The year previous to this year, he really didn't play a whole lot. So the experience wasn't there. So, a lot of guys got to go through game time experience. They got to get the reps to build that confidence. You hope they will have that swag, the confidence, and, that's just that toughness to be able to perform. But sometimes it takes guys longer than usual. And unfortunately, it just is clicking this late into the season. And the guys, we know what they're able to do because they show it in practice. They show it on film. But sometimes in the game situation, in high-pressure situation, underneath the lights, some guys just don't perform the same. But now I think that they're getting to that point. It's good to see them make plays. Any type of confidence, any type of success helps in this situation. Wins helps in this situation. So I think we're doing all the right things now to get these guys to the level where we need them to be.
Okay, and Coach, my last question. This quarterback for Central Connecticut State, Nick Sangiacomo, what do you know about him? What have you seen on him? I think he's a transfer from Tulane, if I'm not mistaken. Have you gotten to watch him on film, and what have you noticed about him? We watch him on film. He's a transfer from Tulane. He's a big quarterback, 6'3", 224. So he's a big guy. He throws the ball very well as far as the short passing game. He's very successful as far as managing the game. He don't turn the ball over as much when you see other quarterbacks, but he does a good job. But I think for this team, it's all about Brandon Leitchen. He's one of their horse guys. He's a guy they like to see. He's a great running back, great speed, great size. I think between the two, they do a good job on offense as far as making you being prepared and make sure you be aware and go through your keys and your reads to make sure that you're successful. But there's no doubt about it. We got to do a good job as far as stopping the pass. Ken Rush and those guys are really stepping up in the secondary. So we're getting better as far as defending the pass, but we have to be aware of that. Okay. Coach, good luck this weekend, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
There are no further questions at this time.
Well, thanks again for joining us this morning, Coach Harrell. Best of luck to you and the team this week.
Thank you, Patricia. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Well, Howard will travel to New Britain, Connecticut to take on Connecticut State. That game kicks off Saturday, November 15th at 1 p.m. Our next interview is with Norfolk State head coach Pete Adrian. Good morning, Coach Adrian.
Good morning, Patricia. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, Coach. How about yourself?
Well, I kind of feel like Levi Phillips of the Four Tops. It's the same old song.
Well, hopefully we'll have a different tune. Tough finish for the Spartans last week. Share your thoughts regarding the matchup against Bethune-Cookman.
Well, it's pretty much the type of game we thought it would be. I mean, it was a very physical football game. Pretty much thought it would be low scoring. You got two good defenses out there, and they made some plays when they had to get the win, and we couldn't do it. So hats go off to them. It was a tough one to lose and a great one to win.
Well, Coach, recording two conference losses in the MEAC can be a difficult thing to overcome in the title race. Can you sum up where this team's mindset and attitude is today compared to this time 1 week ago?
Well, it's the same mindset. We always take it one game at a time, and it's our seniors' last home game. And, we'll be ready to play, and we're playing a very good opponent in North Carolina Central. They do really a nice job offensively. They're very diverse and do some good things. And, of course, defensively, they'll get after us just like every other defense has during the year, so we'll be prepared.
Well, thanks, Coach Adrian. That concludes my questions. If I can ask you to stay on the line for any additional questions from the media.
You bet.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. If you'd like to withdraw your question, it will be the 1 followed by the 3. Our first question is from the line of John McCann with the Herald Sun. Please go ahead.
Hey, what's going on, Coach Adrian?
Hey, how we doing?
Pretty good, sir. Coach, with North Carolina Central's offense being pretty prolific this season, you guys obviously have a great defense. Do you feel the need to change a few wrinkles to stop some of the guys that have been so strong for them this year, particularly their running game, running back Andre Clark?
Well, every week we try to have some different wrinkles. You have to, and that's all part of game planning. And, going through film study and all that stuff, we'll do whatever we have to do. And we're pretty multiple up front what we do defensively and try to, do a good job with it. But, we know they're good and we know we're pretty good, so it should be an interesting game.
There's a possibility that they may be without Adrian Wilkins, who was ejected from the game last Saturday. Even with that in mind, is that enough to make you alter what you want to do? Even more than normal.
No, you have to defend the system that they do. They'll have players to put in there, and usually players step up and do what they ever have to do if they have anybody out. I mean, just like getting somebody hurt, you got to play with the next guy.
Okay. All right, Coach. Appreciate it.
You bet.
There are no further questions at this time.
Thanks again for joining us this morning, Coach. Best of luck to you and the team this week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Norfolk State will host North Carolina Central on Saturday, November 15th. That game kicks off at 2 p.m. at the Dick Price Stadium in Norfolk, Virginia. Our next interview is with Hampton University head coach Connell Maynor. Good morning, Coach Maynor.
Good morning. Hello?
Good morning, Coach. How are you?
How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, last week, a difficult matchup for the Pirates last week. Can you talk a little bit about that game against North Carolina Central?
Yeah, for whatever reason, I don't know, we didn't play very well, and we played about bad as we could play the first quarter, and we was only down 7-0, and then we had another turnover at the beginning of the second quarter, and the defense was playing pretty good. They got another stop, and then we got a long run and got a score and tied it up 7-7. With like 9 or 7 minutes left in the second quarter, and so I thought we had weathered the storm because we was playing so bad, and now the game is tied and it's midway through the second quarter, and they went down and scored, and then they blocked the punt, and then they intercept and scored, and next thing you know, they scored 20, 30 unanswered points, and before we knew it, and we just couldn't overcome that. We couldn't overcome that block punt. They ran back, and then the next possession we threw a pass. They got tipped, and they picked that and ran it back and had the momentum, and they never looked back.
Well, Coach, statistically, turnovers has been a challenge for the Pirates this year. Talk about how you address this area with the team each week.
Well, we just got to play it one play at a time and don't make a bad play worse, and we got to hold on to the football. We've been getting stripped a little bit here lately and throwing some interceptions. And, one of the interceptions, this week came on, the quarterback arm got hit as he was throwing. So, that don't go in the stat books, but, that goes on him. And, we just got to do a better job of taking care of the football as quarterback. And the receivers got to go up and fight for the ball sometime when the ball is a little underthrown or thrown inside, and not let the defender just get a free try for the interception. And then we just got to do a better job of holding on to the football as running backs. So we talk about it, and, you got to take your hats off to those guys that we're playing against for causing turnovers.
Well, this week you faced Bethune-Cookman during a nationally televised game and on a short week. Talk about this pending matchup.
Well, it's we hopefully we'll play better than we did last week. We could play a little bit more like we've been playing in the previous weeks. We could be competitive. We could stay in the game and have a chance in the fourth quarter. That's what we're trying to do. It was a big game last week and a big crowd, homecoming, and we didn't play very good. So hopefully it's another big game. It's national TV that we'll play a little bit better. Bethune-Cookman is very well coached by Coach Jenkings and his staff. They're dangerous on offense, defense. They got athletes. They got speed. So hopefully they'll let me play with 12 on the field, and we'll have a chance.
Well, thanks, Coach Maynor. That concludes all of my questions this morning, but if I can ask you to stay on the line for any additional questions from the media.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. There are currently no questions on the audio lines.
Well, thanks again for joining us this morning, Coach Maynor. Best of luck to you and the team this week.
Thank you, Patricia. Have a nice day, week.
Our next interview is with Savannah State head coach Earnest Wilson. Good morning, Coach Wilson. Good morning, Coach Wilson.
Patricia?
Yes, can you hear me, Coach? Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay.
Well, Coach, tough finish for the Tigers last week. Can you talk a little bit about that matchup against Howard?
Coach did a great job. Gary did a great job coaching up the Bison. We were going back and forth for a little bit, and then they just, with their quarterback Greg McGee, he did a great job of pulling away from my guys, and we ended up losing 51-21, but we left at least 3 to 4 touchdowns out on the field. We fumbled on the 4-yard line. We had an opportunity to go for it on a 1-yard line, and some other snags in the program. Had an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, a foolish penalty, which we have ran down to a certain about the 8-yard line. So we left points out there on the field, but our kids improved. It was the first time since I've been here in 2 years that I actually saw the kids playing with intensity. We had up practice, and it was just kind of disappointing, but another disappointing loss. But I'm almost like Adrian is like the Four Tops singing the same old song, but we getting better.
Well, Coach, Tino Smith rushed for over 100 yards against Howard. Can you talk about his play and how it impacts the success of this team?
Yes, Tino's a freshman, and he's a quarterback, and we put a couple wrinkles in running the ball with the quarterback, and at the same time, we have 2 quarterbacks, 1 freshman and 1 sophomore. And Tino's gotten better each week, and he's become a better student of the game. And, I think the team is beginning to rally around both of them, but they're rallying around him. And I think in the future he's going to be something to reckon with, especially since he haven't really played. He played a little bit of quarterback in high school after during his senior year, and in prep school he broke his wrist. So I think, his days the best days are yet to come.
Well, looking ahead, you will host a tough North Carolina A&T team. What's the outlook for this matchup?
Well, they're one of the top teams in the country. And so, last year we moved the ball against them. Our team has gotten better each week. I just hope to be able to move the ball, put some points up on the board. Defense, they got tough. We haven't done well against running the ball, and we got they have a tough task against them, our defense, and hope to hold the running backs down. And Coach is doing a great job over there.
Well, thanks, Coach Wilson. That concludes all of my questions this morning, but if I can ask you to stay on the line for any additional questions from the media.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, as a reminder, to register for a question, it'll be the 1-4 on your telephone. We have no questions registered at this time.
Thanks again for joining us this morning, Coach Wilson. Best of luck to you and the team this week.
Thank you. Have a great week.
You too. Our next interview is with South Carolina State head coach Buddy Pugh. Good morning, Coach Pugh.
Good morning, Patricia.
How are you this morning, Coach?
I'm doing good.
Coach, nice win last week over Florida A&M. Can you talk about the game?
Yes, we did play down in Tallahassee this past Saturday, and it was a good game for us. Got off to a fast start, and of course, they got back to even at the half. I think it was 13-10 at the half, and we turned the football over a little bit more than I would have liked, but at the same time, FAMU was responsible for a good bit of that. Then from there, in the second half, we were able to get ahead and eventually get the game in hand. But it was a tough game in a way where, both teams got after each other pretty good, and we were fortunate to win.
Well, Coach, from a coach's perspective, at this point in the season, can you talk about the strengths that you see that this team possesses that should aid them down the stretch in this conference title race?
Well, when I think something's a strength next week, it doesn't turn out to be that way. So I'm almost afraid to say what is the strength of this team. But we have played pretty well on defense, especially after North Carolina Central. We are still struggling to find our offensive game and what we can do offensively. We'd like to be able to run the football a little bit better. Did get a good game this past game from Scoop Simmons, a little bit over 200 yards rushing. And he's now just, I think, less than 10 yards from 1,000. We get a good bit of push from our special teams game. We've been fortunate enough to return and put some pressure on people's special teams game a little bit. So, strength-wise, I think we get a little bit of good, a little bit of bad, from all three of our major areas of this football team. And, it's just what shows up that particular day, what happens to be our strength. Sometimes you think it is, and it won't be. But at the same time, we're trying to build a consistency that we know that we're going to be strong everywhere once we get out there and get to playing.
Well, competitive matchup ahead as you take on Morgan State. What are your thoughts about this matchup?
A little bit of a scary deal. Coach Hall and his crowd at Morgan got to be smarting, from their performance last week. When I heard the score, I couldn't believe it. It was just so drastically different from what I'd seen, from Morgan in the past so many odd games that I'd had a chance to, kind of peek around the corner and see it somewhat. But, they did have some tough times down at A&T on Saturday. But, they run the ball extremely well, and they're extremely aggressive on defense. They're sound defensively. They don't, they got 11 eyes on you, all the time. They don't give you very many opportunities for very many big plays, on defense. And, and they keep the football away from them with that strong running game on offense. So, it's pretty easy to see, what their plan of success is. They run the football on offense, and they stop it from having, big plays on defense, make you, earn everything everywhere. So, it's a tough matchup for us. And, Morgan always matches up against us, in a way where, athleticism-wise, it's always a pretty even matchup that way. So it'll be a tough match for us on Saturday.
Well, Coach, one last question. Not more than 7 minutes ago, Javon Hargrave was named to the Buck Buchanan Award watch list. Can you talk a little bit about or share your thoughts with regards to his name being on this list?
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and I think Javon's very deserving. He's a big man, who can do little man stuff. He runs around. I saw him, and I think Damon Fleming's, as fine a quarterback as we've had, this league in some time, and he can run and throw that kind of stuff, and he broke out and got to running, and Hargrave ran him down, one time. That just gives you an idea, what kind of athleticism this big man has. He's a fantastic guy, both on and off the field. He's a great part of this community. He's involved in all kinds of charitable efforts and community service kinds of efforts and what have you. He's just a fine young man. So, we're excited about having him and looking forward to, seeing how he plays the next couple of games. I think he's got somewhere in the 16, 17 sack range. I'm not exactly sure, how many, but, I know he's got a bunch of sacks and he plays good against the run too. So, he's a good player, and, we're fortunate to have him.
Well, thanks, Coach. And it's 15 sacks. But thank you for...
I think it might be 16, Patricia. I really think it might be 16. Wait a minute. Let me look at this thing right here. Defense right here. Javon Hargrave, 16 sacks. Yeah, we'll get that to you.
Well, right. Thank you, Coach. That concludes all of our questions this morning, but if I could ask you to stay on the line for any additional questions from the media.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, dear.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone keypad. Our first question is from the line of David Perkins. David Perkins is with SBN Sports. Please proceed.
Coach, good morning. How are you?
Hey, David. How are you this morning?
I'm doing fine. And talking a lot about your defense, and I wanted to ask about your freshman linebacker, Darius Leonard.
Right.
Yeah, and I see that he earned MEAC Defensive Player of the Week honors. Can you talk about him a little bit?
Yes, Darius is a freshman linebacker from Lakeview, South Carolina. He's a 6'1"-ish, 210-poundish guy who runs like a defensive back, and he tackles like a linebacker. He missed a game or two. He got hurt in the Central game and was out for a game and a part with a concussion, and that was a big hole for us to fill. He's just a natural playmaker. He just runs around and makes, plays with his speed and quickness and his ability that way. He's athletic. He can do the whole deal, and he's an extremely mature young man who all he's looking for, is an opportunity to play. So we think he's a special guy, and we're excited about having him for a long time around here.
And would you say, continuing to talk about your defense, would you say right now it's the major strength of your team?
Oh, no doubt about it. And when you talk about South Carolina State in general, it's the big deal with our football program. It's kind of like, in my home, if I'm sick, my kids, think, it's funny, but if something's wrong with mama, it's serious. Well, defense around here is mama. If something goes bad, if our defense get to playing bad, I'm in trouble. So, it's one of those big deals that you got to always have in place here at South Carolina State.
All right, Coach, that's all I had. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Our next question is from the line of Edward Lee with Baltimore Sun. Please go ahead.
Coach, I was wondering if you could just talk about Morgan State's quarterback situation is a little bit in flux with Robert Council and Moses Gillen both playing on Saturday against North Carolina A&T. As you look ahead to this game on Saturday, which quarterback are you preparing for?
You know what? I don't know if I see that much of a difference in their skill set. Both guys, are big and strong, can run like the wind. Both guys throw it around pretty good. I don't see much of a change in the offensive attack, between the two guys. So I think you prepare, for, the style of play, Morgan State presents. They're a heavy spread, rezone, screen attack. We just got to be prepared for that style of attack. The tough part about it is that both guys execute at a pretty high level. And I don't know exactly what they go about using as for the reason, for the changing of guys. I've seen a couple guys in our league now. Brian Jenkins down at Bethune, tends to like to play two guys. I've seen this deal here where, they got two guys playing. I had two guys playing. It wasn't because I wanted to do it. It was because we had no choice. One guy was hurt, and we had to put the next guy in. But, this seems to be, a thing for some of our schools in our league. And, both guys seem to be very similar. So, I don't know exactly why sometimes.
But, I mean, they said that they're not – Lee has said he's not going to make a decision until probably Friday. As an opposing coach, though, would you prefer to know the identity beforehand?
Well, you always prefer to know as much information about your opponent as you can. Yes, I like to know more about who was doing what and who was going to do what. I don't think they give us that information, though, so at that point, we just got to work, with the information we have.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Our next question is from the line of Brantley Strickland with the Times and Democrat, Orangeburg. Please go ahead.
Coach, you stole my quarterback question, so I'm going to just let you go.
Okay, Brantley, sorry.
All right, we'll see you Thursday.
All right, thank you now.
All right, thanks.
Our next question is from the line of Brent Warnoff with the Daytona Beach News-Journal. Please go ahead.
Hi, Coach. Obviously, a lot can happen in the next couple of weeks, but have you looked at the tie-break format in the MEAC? Do you know how that works at all?
I think I do. And I think it goes by points. After you get past head-to-head, I think the first tiebreaker is head-to-head, though. And, with that being the case, I would think that we'd be the odds-on guy if we could win out. Now, how the second and third place break out, I'm not exactly sure. But I can tell you that, at least from my understanding, is that because we've beaten both Bethune and A&T, that we would be the AQ from our league if we could continue to win out.
Does it matter? I think it does, the fact that Bethune and A&T wouldn't play each other.
You know what? I don't know if that matters or not, and that could be too now, so I don't know for sure. So I may have misspoken, but at the same time, I don't know if it makes any difference at all with the fact that, all that could do was create another loss for one of those teams, which would give one of those a third loss, a second loss. But that particular game would not have a bearing on the race as far as who the champion would be, because we would still have beaten both of those guys.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Our next question is from the line of John McCann with the Herald-Sun. Please go ahead.
Hey, Coach Pugh. I was in Orangeburg the weekend when Central put it on y'all pretty good. And after the game, you were pleasant. You weren't upset. And here y'all are right here in position to win the thing when at the time, you had to work with a freshman quarterback who wasn't really proven on the MEAC stage. Did you know something back then, weeks ago, that I didn't know?
No, didn't know a thing. But I did know this, and that was that things will work their way out, and that you just got to keep working. It was so early in the race at that point that you couldn't get yourself, all rolled up in a knot in a way that you couldn't continue to function. It was a very disappointing day, I can tell you that. And, if we had been able to continue to keep the scoring going in that game, I don't know exactly how that game would have turned out. But, when we lost our edge on offense, when we were not able to continue to operate at the level that we needed to against Central, then, at least I understood why we had gone to the place that we had gone to that day. As long as you got an idea of what the reasoning is, then you can always go about fixing it.
All right, Coach. I appreciate it, sir.
Thank you, sir.
There are no further questions at this time.
Thanks again for joining us this morning, Coach Pugh. Best of luck to you and the team this week.
Thank you very much, Patricia.
South Carolina State will travel to Baltimore, Maryland to take on Morgan State. That game kicks off Saturday, November 15th at 1 p.m. and will be played at Hughes Stadium. Next up we have North Carolina A&T head coach Rod Broadway. Good morning, Coach Broadway.
Good morning, Patricia. Patricia, how are you?
I'm doing well, Coach. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Coach, pretty dominating victory last week over Morgan State. Can you talk a little bit about that matchup against the Bears?
Yeah, it was a good win for us, but, I say 1,000 times all wins are good wins, and, we were blessed to get out of here with a win, and which I thought was a good Morgan State team. We just had the ball just bounced our way that day, and sometimes that stuff happens, and that was one of those days, but I thought our coaching staff had a good plan in place, and I thought our kids played really well, and Morgan didn't play quite as well as they played in the past, so we're grateful to get out of here with a win.
Well, Coach, defensively, you shut out a strong offensive presence last week. Talk about the play of the Aggie defense at this point in the season.
Well, we're sound, and our guys play hard, and we've been, since we've gotten here, we've been pretty decent, and we had a couple really outstanding defenses around here, and hopefully we can continue to develop that because I think that's how you win is with defense. But I think Coach Washington and the defense staff does a good job every week getting our guys prepared to play and getting them lined up and teach them what to do and how to do things. So if we can continue to do that, then I think you'll continue to see improvement by the Aggies.
Looking ahead, this week you head to Georgia to take on the Savannah State Tigers. Share your thoughts on this upcoming matchup.
I think it's going to be a good game. I think, record-wise, of course, we're better than them. But then sometimes when you look at tape, it doesn't correlate a lot of times. And I say that a lot of times. If you didn't know the record and you look at them on tape, then they're not that far off. But, our main focus this week is we got to just go, be focused, and be ready to play and not make a lot of mistakes and just need to continue to play hard and get better. And that's the thing we're trying to do this week, just get better.
Well, thanks, Coach Broadway. That concludes all of my questions this morning, but if I can ask you to stay on the line for any additional questions from the media.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, it's the 1-4 if you wish to ask a question. First question is from the line of Brent Warnoff with the Daytona Beach News Journal. Please go ahead.
Hi, Coach. I'm wondering if you know exactly how the tie-break format works in the conference. I know it's a little early to be thinking about that.
I have no idea. We got a lot of football to play, and I don't look at that stuff. Have no idea. I'm just worried about trying to go down and play and get better against Savannah State.
A situation with three teams, you guys all could tie, and I guess one or two at the most can go to the playoffs.
I don't think there's a limit on how many teams can go, is there?
I don't think so. You think three teams could get in?
That would be nice if three teams continue to win and three teams deserving. Then I think it's the right thing to do is to put three teams in.
Okay. Well, thanks, Coach.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
And we have no further questions at this time.
Well, thanks again for joining us this morning, Coach Broadway. Best of luck to you and the team this week.
Thanks, Patricia. You have a good day.
Our next interview is with North Carolina Central head coach Jerry Mack. Good morning, Coach Mack.
Good morning, Patricia.
How are you this morning?
I'm doing well.
Coach, good win for the Eagles last week. Talk about the win over Hampton.
Well, I think it was a situation where all phases of our football team kind of came together on Saturday. Offensively, we were able to generate some points. Special teams was able to generate points, and defensively, we were able to generate points. And we talked about that going into the football game. We wanted it to play well in all three phases of the football game. And also, too, we had a pretty decent lead toward the end, and we still found a way to close the football game, which has been an issue all season. But I thought we did a better job of that on Saturday.
Well, Coach, as you mentioned, you have been clicking on all cylinders. However, converting on fourth downs have been a challenge for this team this year. How are you addressing this area with the team?
Just got to continue to work through things. We would like to be in a position where we can, kick some field goals and we get in four-down territory. But, our field goal kicking has been a situation this year was not been very consistent, I would say. And on fourth down, they just comes down to, we got to do a better job of potentially scheming up some things to try to create that extra yard or two.
Looking ahead this week, you take on Norfolk State. Talk about this pending matchup.
Really good opponent. One of the top defenses, not only at our level of football, but also in our conference. And they're going to be ready to rock and roll. I know it's senior day there, and it's probably one of Coach's final games at home, and they're going to be motivated. I know. In our team, we have to try to match their intensity and match their level of play. Defensively, they're playing well, and offensively, they're struggling a little bit. But I know, with their coaching staff and the kind of team that they have, it's just a matter of time. They can explode at any point in time and put up points.
Well, thanks, Coach Mack. That concludes all of my questions this morning. But if I can ask you to stay on the line for any additional questions from the media.
All right, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question, please press the 1 followed by 4 on your telephone. Our first question is from line of John McCann with the Herald-Sun. Please go ahead.
Coach Mack, Norfolk State loves to play defense. You got any wrinkles to see if you can get Andre Clark free this weekend?
Well, we got to do something. They're doing a great job of stopping the run, and we ran the ball pretty well last week. But we got to do a good job of continue to kind of scheme up people and kind of do our deal. We're pretty balanced right now, run and passing the football. So we don't just put all our eggs in one shell and just run the ball, and we don't do it the same on the passing side of the football. So we just got to do a good job of playing to our strengths and trying to take advantage of what they give us.
Your 3 players who got ejected last week, were those the right calls, and will they be available this Saturday?
They will not be available this Saturday, except right now we have Chris Presley, Keaton Burgess, Javon Simmons, and Kevin Staten. But Adrian Wilkins will play this upcoming week.
Okay. You got Wilkins back. Hey, he looked good back there handling those punts, too, so maybe his confidence is, right back where it needs to be.
Yeah, we hope so. He's a dangerous player. He had a great return versus Bethune-Cookman. He fielded the ball good last Saturday. So we're hoping that he can create some momentum and give us good field position. But, once again, Mike Jones is doing an extremely good job. I think he's one of the tops in the conference right now returning punts.
Yeah, Mike Jones is a bad boy for sure. Coach, describe what it feels like to know that you have to control what you can control, but yet there still might not be enough because you got to factor in head-to-head matchups and whether Patricia Porter likes you or not and all that kind of good stuff to win a MEAC championship.
Well, we had our chances earlier in this race, and we dropped the ball a couple of times, and we wish it was different, but we can't go back and dwell on that. We just got to continue to focus. It's a lot of goals we're still playing for. We're still playing to have a non-losing season. We're still playing to have a winning season, and win more than we lose. And then at the end of the day, you just got to let everything happen. Everything's happening for a reason. But I will say this, I'm very proud of this team right now, and they played well this past Saturday. So we just want to continue to try to keep that momentum going and keep feeding out that energy.
And lastly, Coach, obviously at the beginning of the season, y'all were picked to finish 8th in the MEAC. Y'all certainly have shown that y'all can play with anybody in the league. Have you already picked out your suit for when you